Cogan presenting Paving the Moral Path, Francis Perkins' leadership in forming a legacy for workers' rights. Hello everyone, my name is Francis Perkins. A few of you may know me as the Secretary of Labor for the Roosevelt administration. Welcome to my alma mater. I have been sent some questions asking about different moments in my life, and I would like to share them with you today. Let's get started. This first question here is asking, what inspired me to take the path in life that I have chosen? For me, it all began at Hull House, a settlement program in Chicago run by Jane Addams. It was doing exactly what settlement houses everywhere were doing, providing educational programs for the indigent populations. This was a place of energy and excitement. The people there were creative and willing to try new things. We all began to question the moral path that the country was following in terms of poverty. This place led me to change myself. I changed my religion, my political affiliation, and even legally changed my name. The second part of that question was asking about the influential characters that I met at Hull House. Thinking back, there were so many. Doctors, scientists, electricians. But one fellow, Joe Farwell, captures the spirit of Hull House when he stated that the spark was set here for so many great people. This next question is asking when it was that I first became involved in proposing and preparing regulatory legislation that would create a better working environment. I was living in New York when I witnessed the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire of March 25th, 1911. 146 workers died trapped in a burning building with no safety regulations. After this tragedy, the Factory Investigating Commission, which I went on to lead, was created, and we visited industries throughout the state and reported on their working conditions. I can remember many places where children were working under appalling conditions, and nobody was doing anything about it. I questioned myself, could this really be that moral path that the country was following? We realized that this was a great opportunity to get those state officials informed, so we brought them along to see for themselves the workers spending 80 hours a week at their jobs. I decided then, as a leader and finally a legacy for those workers, that I would be the one to put a ceiling over their hours, a floor under their wages, and abolish child labor. This next person writes, Mrs. Perkins, you are very well known as the backbone of the Social Security and Fair Labor Standards Act. What were some of the obstacles you were faced with in leading the way, and what strategies did you use to get what you wanted? I can remember back when I had my own agenda of items that I was willing to work towards. When President Roosevelt first approached me about becoming the Secretary of Labor, I didn't want it because of that agenda. Surprisingly, he approved, and I became the first woman presidential cabinet member, having to navigate myself through a sea of men who were clearly not comfortable with working in a women in their political world. Certainly, past experiences in New York prepared me for this. Out of the blue one day, when I was still a young woman, I ran into State Senator Hugh Frawley. He was upset and lying to me about his colleagues. And just before he left, he turned to me and whispered, "Every man has a mother, you know." I was amused at first, but I don't think he realized that he was being disrespectful motherly did indeed get me what I wanted, and for people to open up to me with vital information, then I would become frumpy. Back to the obstacles. Let's see. Another one for me would be the issues of collective bargaining, getting industry managers and their employees to work and manage together. Our strategy? Negotiate for a newfound voice for the worker. Another obstacle, and notwithstanding, would be the Supreme Court, because they were consistently challenging us with the constitutionality of labor and interstate commerce. Ooh, I see this next question is asking for me to share an insider story on the passing of the Social Security Act. Thinking back, there's a great story in answering that question. My committee and I were debating on who would be responsible for funding the program. I was explaining this one evening to Supreme Court Justice Harlan Stone when he leaned forward as if being secretive and whispered, "The taxing power of the federal government, my dear, the taxing power is sufficient for everything you want and need." Thankfully, though, it was Justice Stone who finally gave me the confidence to take charge in these situations myself. This led me to invite everyone to my home, lock the door, and tell them, no one leave until we finally decide who funds the program. This final question is asking for me to share a major accomplishment that came out of the struggles that I encountered. While we were struggling with the New Deal, I sent a proposal to the White House, and in 1938, it passed as the Fair Labor Standards Act. It finally accomplished items on my agenda. However, it disheartens me to have to tell you it was watered down in terms of child labor. We gave exceptions to the mining industry, for example, though one only has to look at Lewis Hines' photographs of children in the mines to know how morally twisted this country had become. In 1938, I remember the Democratic Party platform stating that government has inescapable obligations to its citizens that I believe this act accomplished. It was finally a victory that I felt I could claim after working so hard for it all my life. Years have gone by since Frances Perkins last impacted us labor workers. She made it clear that it is everyone's job, my job as a laborer, to be diligent in improving the conditions of the workplace. In 1970, just 5 years after she died, President Nixon created, under the Department of Labor, the United States Occupational Safety and Health Administration. It's an agency that regulates and monitors industries all over the country. It came as a result of her lifelong work. It is exactly what she was wanting to see happening. We know she was consulted by labor leaders almost all the way up until she died. A strategy of hers was to handhold legislators and labor leaders through their resistance with each other until they reached a final solution. We still need to be doing this today. We need that diligence to create a positive and productive working environment. All of this makes for a pretty powerful legacy. I am Grace Cogan, just an ordinary citizen, but I have spent the last few months researching Frances Perkins, and I think I can state she was not one to fuss over how she would be remembered. You have heard her speak about people's sparks being set back at Hull House, but little did she know then that she would become a spark herself. This amazing experience of hers helped her to move forward and make revolutionary changes in the field of labor. In my research, I found this document of hers. It's an outline of what she believes constitutes a good job. Preventing fires and accidents from occurring in the workplace was a major concern of hers. Having decent working hours, and relevant to the very day, a minimum wage. If we all do what we can to make right that moral path that she strove to correct, this will form its legacy. Thankfully today, it still prevails. In her leadership, she gave voice to me and you. She gave voice to the worker. And unbeknownst to her, she formed her legacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot.